What's up, family? It has been a long minute since I've been on Facebook Live. My siblings, I want to hop on here just to take a minute to consider who is this brown baby boy that we are actually celebrating this Christmas. Because most of us don't actually know the real circumstances around his birth. In the Western world, the birth story has been so romanticized and so sanitized that it's not even recognizable. So a teenage, unwed, heavily pregnant brown girl named Mary was forced to leave her home in a poor agricultural town that is viewed as like the least of the least, right? What did they say about Nazareth? What good thing could come from Nazareth? So that's where her hometown, that's how it was viewed. Teenage, unwed, 9 months pregnant Mary, brown Mary, is forced to leave with her fiance, who, by the way, teenage brown Mary, who is kind of a scandal because she's unwed and she's pregnant, is forced to leave her home. Now, the route from Nazareth to Bethlehem is roughly 90 miles. And it was not a pleasant journey. It was 90 miles of uphill and downhill and uphill and downhill. Most likely in winter season where there was heavy rain, where at night temperatures reached freezing. So on this night, 2023 years ago, they were just trying to get settled in the middle of what was probably about a 7 to 10 day trip. We hope that she was on a donkey. We hope they had a donkey so she wasn't walking. Joseph was probably on foot in something of a treacherous journey. And there are dangers in this road that they had to travel. It is known that some parts of this trip are through forests that are known to be dangerous, partly because of wild animals and partly because of thieves and what they would call bandits. And so many people did not consider it safe to be traveling alone without a whole caravan of people. So these are the circumstances that were happening on today, 2023 years ago. Teenage brown Mary forced to leave home and take a week-long journey in a rainy season through brutal terrain, probably 7 to 10 days because of how heavily pregnant she was. Scholars estimate most likely they probably didn't travel more than 10 miles a day. But why exactly did a teenage pregnant girl and her fiance have to leave home? What is this whole thing about a census? Caesar Augustus declared a census. What does that mean? Teenage brown Mary and brown Joseph were colonized people. They lived on occupied land. The Roman Empire made their people a colony. So they lived on occupied, colonized land. And the Roman Empire decided the folk need to be counted. So basically, the colonized folk need to be counted like cattle. And in order to do that, you had to leave wherever you live and go back to the land or the town that is your family line, where they're from. So Joseph was from Bethlehem, the city of David. So they had to travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem. Our Messiah was born displaced because they were colonized and they had to be counted by the colonizer. Do you know that science tells us that babies in the womb can feel what a mother's body is experiencing in her and around her? Because every emotion we experience releases a chemical. And what we know is that the baby in the womb feels and receives the shifts in chemicals. So every emotion Mary was experiencing in the brutal conditions in which she was traveling at 9 months pregnant, baby Jesus in the womb was himself feeling it. Baby Jesus in the womb felt the displacement, felt the houselessness, felt there's no space in the inns. Our brown colonized Messiah felt it in the womb. And as the saying goes, the body keeps the score. For all of Jesus' life, his body had a body memory of what he experienced in the womb. That is what science tells us about babies in the womb and what we carry into adulthood. Unless we do the healing work to heal it, because it can be healed. Plug for healing work. Family, I wanted to pause tonight to highlight the actual Christmas story and the brutality of it and the heartlessness of the empire that forced a teenage brown girl and her fiance to be settling in right about now, 2023 years ago, on the road while she's about to give birth any day. I hope that we will pause this evening on this Christmas Eve and consider the greatest act of solidarity in all of human history. That's what we're celebrating. Not only did the God of all creation put God's self in a human body, that by itself is outrageous. But not just any human body. In the human body of a brown, colonized, poor man coming out of a teenage, brown, poor, displaced girl. The greatest act of solidarity in all of human history was that. That is the Savior that we are celebrating and commemorating on this Christmas Eve. And I hope you will also pause to consider that Bethlehem, where teenage brown Mary and brown Joseph were settling in right about now, 2023 years ago, that Bethlehem, that's in Palestine. Bethlehem is at the epicenter of a genocide happening right now. The land of our Savior's birth. Family, let's not divorce our Christmas celebrations from the land of our Savior's birth, which is under siege, under the rubble right now. Family, I hope that as we sense the brutality of it, we also sense the hope of it, the solidarity of it. That our Savior not just sees, but understands the suffering. And his very birth was resistance to the empire that authors the brutality. I pray we find hope in that resistance on this Christmas Eve, hope in that solidarity, as we also grieve with those who grieve, and as we also grieve that we ourselves live in an empire. Bless you this Christmas Eve. May the real Christmas story come alive for you in 2023.